Hey, welcome to episode 285 of Ugly Awesome Podcast. This episode is called Mind Your Business, Mind Your Business. And today's guest, he hasn't done just one thing in life. He's been followed like a variety of passions from being a local rock star to now he does volunteer work helping people to think critically, and between that he has a a computer business which basically is a IT department for small businesses, and I just love that when someone does a variety of things, it fascinates me. I mean, some people get away, or not get away, but some people delight in like picking one thing when they're young and just they keep diving deeper and deeper into that, and that's brilliant too. But this way of exploring different things and and becoming wholeheartedly passionate about different things really fascinates me. I hope you enjoy this episode greatly. Let me bring my guest on, but first this.
Today's guest, Kevin Elsing.
Hey Kevin, welcome to Ugly Awesome Podcast.
Hey, thank you, Jason, for having me.
So can we jump right in?
We can jump right in.
Awesome. So you grew up in Adrian, Minnesota. I think of New York City, Chicago, LA, but I don't think of Adrian in that list.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was a farm boy. I actually was kind of weird. I lived on a farm and went to school in Adrian, had a Rushmore phone number and a Wilmot address. So it was one of those kind of a confusing childhoods that way.
So will you please give us some context about how big is Adrian?
I want to say maybe 10,000 people. I haven't looked lately. My high school class was 56 people. So that maybe gives you a better feel.
And what you graduated with 56 people.
Yes. Yep.
In Rushmore and Wilmot, substantially smaller, huh?
Yeah. Yep. They are. Yep.
What was it like growing up on a farm?
Oh, it was a lot of work, right? We milked cows. So we always baled a lot of hay. So we would, that was pretty heavy work, right? Going out and being on a tractor all day or being on the wagon stacking bales. And I did that for neighbors as well.
So are these the rectangular bales?
The rectangular ones. Yep. Yep. We had to manhandle them one by one. And like for our farm, we would bale probably 10,000 bales a year just on our farm. And then I did that for other farmers as well. So, but I'd be on the rack and yep.
Do you have any ideas about how people any ideas about back safety? Because you've had a lot of experience.
You say back safety?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I really didn't have much of an issue, I guess. I was younger, young kid, and I seemed to come out of it okay. So, but a lot of hard work, a lot of hot sun, drink a lot of water, and you're usually okay.
So you're busy doing lots of farm work.
Yeah.
How did the interest in music develop within you?
Man, when I was probably in 5th grade, was when kind of when Adrian started their music program with kids, and I wanted to play the trombone, and I was very hyperactive, moving around a lot, and so I went and told the band director I wanted to play trombone. He said, "Well, you're probably too short, your arms aren't long enough, so you should probably play drums," is what he told me, but I'm sure it was because I was more hyperactive, right, and kinetic, so
And then when you started playing drums, did you, like, enjoy it immediately, or did it take some time?
no, I really liked it a lot, and I drove my parents nuts. I had a snare drum, and I would just sit in my room, and I'd bang that snare drum. Yeah, so it was really actually a good outlet for me, with all the extra energy I had. So I did that in school as well. So I was in, like, marching band and in, like, the regular, like, orchestra style band as well, and then also in music in, like, swing choir and choir. So I did that for my all through high school as well.
Do you have siblings,
I
Kevin?
do, I do. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and my oldest brother has passed away. So,
Sorry to hear that.
yep, yep.
When you were banging on the snare drum in the house, there were a lot of people to hear the fruits of your efforts, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they would call them fruits or not. They might call them something else, but yeah, they heard it.
Wow. In a few sentences, what would you say being involved in music from 5th grade through high school, what did that give you?
Oh, for me, like, academically, I wasn't as interested, again, because I was more of a hyper running around. So it gave me something more to focus on, and it's something that I grew to really love the again, the kinetic side of it and the ability to really focus and learn, I guess, and to put things together and challenge my own body to be able to play differently and, be more ambidextrous with my hands and feet and different stuff like that, so
So so so that band director, when he said you were too short for the trombone, he really, in those few words, saying you should play the drum, he really gave a lot to your life, huh?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, because it was definitely the right choice. I don't know that I would've been able to carry out the other things in my life on the music side, and I don't think I would've and if not doing that, I wouldn't have taken that passion and been able to use that passion in other areas of my life. So it really gave me something to focus on that I really loved, that I could spend 6, 8, 10 hours a day on and just devour it.
You said 6, 8, or 10 hours a day?
Yeah, yep. So when I was in Mankato in a band there, basically I would play probably 6 hours a day, sometimes more. And then I worked a part-time job, and I lived in a house with a friend of mine who was the bass player in the band that I was in at the time. And yeah, so we played basically like weekends, and we'd open up for other bigger bands at the time, like Slave Raider was one of the big local bands that played around that, so we toured with them quite a bit. Yeah, so it was just like I would spend a lot of time just focusing and playing in the basement of that house. So
So what's the time period when you lived in Mankato, Minnesota?
probably right around 88, 89, 90, like right in that time frame.
This is just after you graduated from high school?
I actually graduated from high school in 1983. Then I took a little bit of time off and didn't do school right away. I worked right out of high school, not knowing for sure what I wanted to do. And then I went to school for electronics. And one of the things that I did really good as a non-traditional student. and there was other non-trad kids that we drove together to Jackson, Minnesota to do school. And then toward the end of it, I'm like, I'm getting kind of bored of this. It was going really well. I took the rest of my student loan money and bought drums, and then the rest is history. So,
You say the rest is history,
yeah,
but let's unpack that decision a little bit,
yeah,
cause you had the option of going the quote unquote safer route career wise, which would be to get the electronics degree and do whatever you do with that, but you like, how did you how in your mind did you, work up the courage to say, "No, I have confidence in my ability. I have confidence in my passion. I want to buy these drums," and
yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, at the time, I don't know, it was I could feel myself. I liked the feeling of being passionate about something, right? And I wasn't feeling that same passion at the time for the electronics degree that I was going for. Even though I did well at it, I could study for it, I could I got great grades. I don't know, it's just there's so much more to life than just having a good job. But when you can have a good job and there's passion tied to it, or you can have that passion in your life, it just makes life feel fuller, and maybe it actually is fuller. So, yeah, it's really about the passion.
what for I you can't speak for anyone else, but how would you describe the feeling of what does passion feel like for you? How do you know when you're passionate?
I'd wake up in the morning and be thinking about playing drums, thinking about different ways I could teach myself. So, like, there's drum rudiments that you can play, and you can learn to play rudiments on your hands and paradiddles and ratomacues and all these weird different combinations. So then I started to go, well, I should learn how to do these with my feet. So I have 2 bass pedals, and I'm going through the progression of learning all the rudiments with my feet. And then I'm like, well, what if I did my right hand and my left foot and did the rudiments that way, and then vice versa, and then right hand, right foot, right hand, left foot. I essentially taught myself to be totally ambidextrous when I'm playing, and
Wow, holy cow.
yeah. So I don't even think about, like, when I play drums, even to this day, I don't think about what foot is gonna play the next bass note. I just kind of float back and forth without thinking about it, and I'm singing backing vocals at the same time. And when we would play in clubs that had like, some clubs had a balcony that would go up and around the stage, and I could always tell who the drummers were because they'd sit up and they'd look down at me playing, and then they're like, "How are how are you deciding what foot to even play, and how are you doing that?" And it's like, I don't even think about it, and in fact, I think if I were to think about it, it would probably mess me up. Now it's just more of a natural, it just kinda happens. So,
Uh, wow. And some of the a lot of that is fruit of, like, you were passionate about playing, so you play 8 to 10 hours a day, and that amount of repetition, you just a
right.
person just develops more and more.
Yep, and, it rewires parts of your brain too, and I think it helps, like, music in general, I think it helps with all kinds of different areas in life. So, like, even strategic thinking, like, it just rewires everything so much that I think musicians maybe somewhat have an advantage a little bit over other people that don't do music in certain areas, so
We'll get to later in your life later, but
yeah.
of it, but but since you mentioned it, How do you think being a musician helps with strategic thinking?
You know, I think normally in our brains, we usually, certain parts of our brain are used to do certain things, right? So I think they've done MRI studies and I'm not a doctor. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure there's certain areas of your brain that light up when you do certain activities. And I think by challenging yourself and learning to do things that are uncomfortable or even awkward, maybe, right? And doing those things over and over and having it become natural has no choice but to rewire the circuits in your brain.
Hmm.
So, and I think that just carries on through through the way you think as well, right? Because you're tying different areas together that maybe normally, wouldn't be tied together as strongly. Theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's my story and I'm sticking with it.
And this is giving me goosebumps because, again, if the band director had just been, oh, Kevin wants to play the trombone and you had started on the trombone and become frustrated because it wasn't a fit for who you were, like maybe your life would have gone in a complete less fulfilling direction.
Yeah, very, very possibly. Because really, again, like even when we get to the later part of my life in business, when I'm looking for to hire people, I'm looking for people that have a capability of being passionate. Passion is a huge part that I definitely want to touch on later. So,
Where we will,
yeah.
but we'll get to a passionate part right now. How
Yeah.
did the opportunity to join a band called Crash Alley come? How did that opportunity come to you?
Yeah. So I was in a band at the time in Mankato called Pandora's Box.
Nice.
And so, yeah. So we were playing, I think, in St. Peter for like some high school event. And then we needed a sound person because our sound person wasn't available that night. And basically I called on a friend of mine from who was in going to school in Brookings, I believe, at the time. And he was running sound for other bands. So I had him come up and he ran sound. And between breaks, he was like, how would you like to do this full time? And I said, well, it sounds interesting. Tell me more about it. And he was actually managing a band, Crash Alley at the time. And he said, I think I've got a spot for you. I've got a band who's looking to get a different drummer. And, you know, your your ability, your playing style, the music you're interested in, the fact that I wasn't like a huge partier was really good too, because Crash Alley was a very serious band, right? We practiced a lot, wrote songs on the road, and then we'd play in the evening too. So we ended up playing a lot of hours, not just shows, but we did a lot of practicing and stuff as well. So yeah, so yeah, Mike McCann was the gentleman that I can thank for bringing me into Sioux Falls and joining Crash Alley.
So that night in St. Peter, all your hours of practice pre pre prepa prepare you for the moment, huh?
It did, and in fact, Mike gave me the band had one CD out already, so he gave me that CD, and he gave me the set list of what songs they were playing at the time, and so for a couple months, I had access to all their music, and I learned everything very quickly. So I knew the whole show, the whole set. We practiced once, and they said, "Yep, you're the right guy," and we played a show the next night. So,
Did you know that night in St. Peter that your friend had this connection?
yep, he told me that evening that he had that connection,
But, I
and
mean, but when you went on stage that evening, did you know that, or did you not know that until after the show?
it was probably between the second and third set. So between different times when we took a break. So during one of the breaks, he mentioned it to me.
So at the beginning of the show, you were simply doing your thing, just enjoying the music, enjoying being good at your craft, and then this opportunity came between the second and third set.
Yep, yep. And I'm sure Mike wanted to see how I'd progressed or see how I played and to see if he thought I'd be a good fit for the band, because he wanted to make sure that I had my capabilities and my chops, right, to be able to fit into the band that they were in. So it was, I guess at this point, it was kind of a pre-interview for the band.
How would you describe the Crash Alley as a band?
Uh, it was, late 80s, early 90s metal. So heavier music with definitely a heavy singer. Wayne Estrada was an awesome singer. He's no longer with us, but yeah, just extraordinary singer. Our guitar players, both guitar players were just fantastic. Mike Pennock, more of a really strong lead and lead guitar player, but really like a dreamy sound and just I don't know, it was really awesome. And Eldon Fisher, super great guitar player, had a lot more of the speed and technical. And at that time, when I first joined the band, Dave Vossler was the bass player. We called him Caveman Dave. And then in my second part of the band, Dave had left for medical reasons, and then another great bass player, Dean Fiala, had joined the band. He's no longer with us as well. He died a couple 3 years ago. So
Hmm.
yeah, so yeah, music can take its toll on people if they're. I mean, everybody was a strong, dedicated player, but then there are addictions that come into play a lot of times with that lifestyle if you're not careful. And the addictions that are pretty much what took Wayne and Dean away from us. So
Hmm. Addictions are such a hard thing.
yeah,
They're just really challenging.
yeah,
So, so like you got hired on to band in a process of producing the second album, right?
yep, yep. The band was when I started. I don't think they were writing any music yet for the second album. So during our touring, we started to do writing, and the whole band was part of the writing, but primarily it was Wayne Estrada, the singer, and Eldon Fisher. Like those two did predominantly the majority of the writing together, but we all wrote our own parts and we helped with, backing. Like I did a lot of backing vocals and helping write some of the lyrics. And obviously, we all wrote our own parts as well for the album. So,
So would you, as a band, literally sometimes write something during the day and perform that thing that night?
probably never one day and play the next night, but it'd be, it might be, work it up, play it for 2 or 3 weeks until we felt it was ready, and then we'd play it. So, and majority of the time we were playing, when I first started, we probably played maybe 15-20% of the music was our original stuff, and the rest was covers. By the time I left the band, we were probably 50% originals and then the other half cover songs. So,
What was it like to write something, work on it for 3 weeks and then hear a crowd or see a crowd cheering for the song that
yeah,
just had been created?
that's that's what feeds the passion, right? That's the fruits of your passion is when other people enjoy it and get as passionate about the music they're hearing as you are about creating it, right? So when you get that kind of a cult following, when we'd play, I think we played probably 17 states, 300 nights a year, and yeah, so we played a lot. But then you go to clubs and it would be like you were coming home almost to each club because you knew a lot of the people there and the same people would come out to see you. And so, and that can be a little bit of a double-edged sword too, because sometimes, like for me, not being a partier, when we'd go into a club and we'd get like again to that second between the second and third set, usually people have been drinking quite a bit and they're a little bit drunk and everybody kind of thinks they're your best friend. And they're like, so my nickname was Yogi because I would stretch all the time before we play. So yeah, so they'd come up to me and they'd go, "Oh, Yogi," and they'd like hang on you because they, "Oh, I love you so much." And after a while, if you're not drinking and partying with people, you're kind of like, "Oh, get away," you know. So that can wear on you too, right? So I can see how people that are, really successful and they're in big bands, how they would want to escape and go someplace where people just treat them like normal people, right? So I got a little bit of a taste of that and that wasn't the best feeling either. So,
Oh.
yeah. It didn't like ruin it for me, but it was just one of those things you kind of had to put up with. But it wasn't always that way, right? Some places you really did know people. So,
S so you're you're serious and passionate a musician, but then part of part of that is just constantly dealing with a lot of people who've had a lot to drink.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds challenging.
Yeah, yep, it is. It is, like I said, if I would have been drinking too, it would have been, I would have been part of the party. Like, very rarely, if I do drink, I'll have like a fuzzy navel, orange juice with peach schnapps, and that's about all I can really tolerate, and just maybe one, and that's it. So,
So I there's so much to the Crash Alley story, and then I also want to get into what you're doing now. So I just think I'll go back and forth some if that's okay.
perfect.
So so you mentioned with the Crash Alley that part of the fun is seeing you're passionate about music and then this crowd is passionate about music and it's fun sharing that. So in terms of the business you have now, how do you see the passion from your quote unquote crowd?
Yeah. So, basically, I guess I'll start with I took a job at Hutchinson Technology that got me back into the technology side of stuff. So I
And tell about what Hutchinson is for people who don't know.
Yeah, Hutchinson, Minnesota, there was a company there that made thin film suspensions. And basically, it's a tiny little device that goes in a hard drive that holds the head over the little platter. And it's funny because a friend of mine that I worked with, Marty, brought me this. And this is a large replica of what we made. But
Mhm.
these are actually just teeny little things that hold the heads on inside of a hard drive, right? So So, what was the exact question again? I got sidetracked with my phone buzzing at me. I'm gonna set this on the side here.
Oh, so just basically, real quick, what did Hutchinson do?
Oh yeah, they made those tiny little thin film suspensions, and we made millions of them every week. So, so basically, I worked on the production floor with the computer systems, connecting them to the equipment that would make the parts. So, and my business partner worked in the up in the office area. So,
Yeah, your business, but
my business partner, yeah. So,
oh,
yeah, my
the
for elbow
business you
computing.
have now. Okay,
Yeah, yep.
and you were working. So this is after Crash Alley.
This is after Crash Alley, and basically the passion side of this. So I came off the road. I moved into an apartment with my girlfriend then, my wife now, and I couldn't set up my drums anywhere. So I couldn't play anywhere. Then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get back into the technology stuff. And I started just devouring books on technology, on networking, on the TCP/IP stack, on how to hack into stuff, and all these different things. I just started devouring all that information, and it took the place of my music passion, my passion for figuring out how this technology works and ways to use it. So that was kind of the shift. That's where I say music gave me the ability to understand what passion is and how to be passionate about something. So I could easily transfer that from the music into learning about this other activity. So it was the same thing. I would spend 8 hours a day just reading and going to a computer and writing programs and doing different things. So very much self-taught on that side as well.
And you were doing this while you were working at Hutchinson?
Yep. I actually started on the production floor, and then I took my and Hutch had an interesting schedule. We'd work 2 days on and then 2 days off. And then we'd have every other weekend, we'd either work 3 days or have 3 days off. So they were 12-hour days, right? Long days. But on the days off, then that's where I'd spend my time, learning and just consuming more and more information.
Then you and your partner at some point decided to start a business, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Kyle, my business partner, Kyle Basie, he was doing work on the side. I was doing some work on the side. And he one day at lunch, he's like, I'm gonna make this official. I'm gonna get a business license and I'm gonna do this the right way. And I said, Kyle, you need a business partner, and here's why. So this was my sales pitch. I said, look, you have people say, come over to my house, fix my computer, have a beer. I have the same thing happening. So look at it this way. You go to somebody's house, you fix their computer, you can say, I have to charge you something because Kevin's not here to drink with us.
Mm,
Because the
nice.
payment was to have a drink, right? So, have a beer and fix my computer became, well, yeah, I can have a beer, but it wouldn't be fair to Kevin, you know? So that's kinda how we use that, with the people we worked for outside of work. So,
So now how long has your business, Elbow Computing, been around?
on May 7th, we just entered our 30th year in business.
Wow. How would you describe like in a band that you're pa the passionate people giving you feedback are your fans and the audience choosing getting and the audience cheering getting drunk. How would you describe your passionate fans in your computer business?
Oh, yeah, the passionate fans in the computer business. I mean, we've grown our business to 23 people, so we're
Wow.
managing probably 130 companies.
Wow.
And it's pretty much all been word of mouth, right? So we work with people. We really, I mean, right now, I think we have a few things out that yeah, a few things in Dakota Scout, and that's we work to deal with them because they needed some computer support. But otherwise, we really haven't ever done any advertising, and it's all been word of mouth, right? So to me, when I've got people that are going to bat for us and saying, you need to talk to Kevin, you need to talk to Kevin's team at Elbow, that's probably the best advertising ever when people will just be your passionate fans as a company. So that's kind of where I would see the feedback from clients.
And you say you have 130, about 130 clients?
Yeah, that are that are on our larger plans, yep. So we have more than that. We probably work with over 200, but, a lot of we have a smaller subset of companies, well, that really aren't companies, or like individuals yet. And we used to do more work in the home market for people in the early days. We really have stopped doing that a long time ago. So we're slowly working with the people that are like one person at their house and working to slowly hand them off to other companies that maybe would do a better job for them because it's really not our focus anymore. So, but I do want to make sure that you know, we don't ever just say, sorry, we don't work with you anymore, move on. I've got some strategic partnerships with other companies that want to work with smaller businesses like that or smaller individuals. And then I'll make a warm introduction and then hand them off because I really want them to go, man, even though, they're not going to work with us now, he handed us over to somebody who can really take care of us. So that's important to me a lot. So
Taking care of people.
yeah, yeah,
And how would you describe what you do for your clients briefly?
yeah. So if you think of companies need to have somebody to take care of like the network connectivity, the security of their environment, keeping their computers up to date, security software. If you have a problem, Jason, you go call Elbow, right? Or, submit a ticket. We got a way to quick, easy submit a ticket or send us an email. And then we hop on remotely with you and just fix your issues. But then probably more importantly, we're in the background looking for problems and fixing those before you even realize they're there. So we want to make you able to be up and running all the time with as least interruption as possible. That's our goal.
That sounds like that's invaluable.
Yeah, yeah, it's really something that businesses really need. Part of that too was making sure people understand the security risks of what they're doing on their computers. So we provide security training. In fact, we require our clients to take security training and to have a passing grade because it increases risk for them and us if they don't have that knowledge. We also we don't want we want to take the burden off of the companies too for buying technology. So if somebody, so clients will just reach out and say, "Hey, Kevin, I've got a gym is starting next week, Thursday. We need to have a new computer and get him set up." So then we actually have that hardware here as well. And we just get everything they need, get it set up, and they come to work and they're ready to go. So it takes that burden off the business owner.
I mean, it takes someone who doesn't buy computers all the time. That takes an hour or two probably to buy it and set it up. And
Right, right. That's why we say mind your business and we'll mind the IT. Right? Because we want people to work and focus on what they need to do to make their business successful. And if they're not a technology company, why would they want to spend 20% of their time or 10% of their time every week trying to maintain or work on technology? They can make more money working in their business and paying us to do it. You know, it's a win-win. So,
so win-win. Wow.
yeah. When it works right, it's a win-win for sure.
And then when technology doesn't work, you're that with support and with problem solving skills and
Yeah. Yep.
big deal.
Yep, yep, and we're very quick to help people out and to get them up and working because if we know, there's multiple costs for IT, right? And the one obvious one that people will look at, they'll go, "Man, I've got to pay Kevin's team this much money every month to manage my stuff." That's one cost. The cost that people like a lot of times don't calculate is how much time they're down and not able to work
Mm.
because they're still paying that employee and they're not able to be efficient or do their job properly, right? So you start to add those times on top of the, what you pay elbow, those times, and that money adds up, right? So we want to make it as efficient as possible and catch as many problems before they become real issues. So, we'll look at things that cause downtime in one client. We'll focus on that and go, what could have we done the day before to have this not happen? And then we'll look for what happens, what telltale signs can we see and identify, and then what fix can we put in place so this doesn't happen. And then we find that, we fix that, we apply it across all of our companies that we work for because we really want to just minimize the amount of disruption they have.
It just sounds like you're so into being, first of all, aware of what's going on, aware of new things, and then being proactive.
Yeah. Yep. And that's part of it too. Proactivity is a huge thing. So another thing that we do is like, I do probably, I think the last time we looked, I probably have 170 strategy meetings a year that I perform across our client base. So
Wow.
some people I maybe work with quarterly, some might be every 6 months, some might be once a year. But in these meetings, I'm sitting down, I'm talking about, what new security risks are we seeing that we have to think about? How is the cybersecurity insurance landscape changing? What things are they starting to require now that they didn't in the past so you can maintain your insurance? How is artificial intelligence going to impact your business? Are your people already using AI? And maybe they're using the free version of AI, and all your trade secrets are going into these free versions. And then the big AI companies are using your data to train the models. So when your competitor goes to do a search, they're going to get your ideas when
Oof.
they've used your information to train the model, right? So you have to think about this like Google and Facebook. I mean, how much money have you paid to use Google or to use Facebook? Probably nothing,
Zero.
right? Zero. But yet they're multi-billion dollar companies. So they're taking our data and they're right now with AI, they're taking our data and they're selling it back to us when you buy AI, right? And if it's the free version, they're taking your information, your ideas, and they're feeding it back to everybody else. So you really want to make sure companies need to make sure that they have control of who's using AI, what platforms are using, and that you've got control over, if you're going to use Anthropic's model, like a chat GPT, that you have a paid version for everybody, and then you restrict them from using any other AI. So you understand where your data lives. Because really, in our business, it's 100% about the data. We protect data. Hardware can be replaced. The data can't. So same way with AI, we need to protect that data. So that's our focus.
Well, I hadn't thought of any that. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that with the free version of AI, and that's
Yeah.
really good to know. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is like part of the strategy, right? Part of the things, when I go out and do meetings with prospects, a lot of times I'll hear like, I've gotten more information about what things I should and shouldn't be doing in my business in the first 15 minutes of our conversation than I have from my current IT guy over the last 2 years,
Hmm.
right? So we're really all about the business and the strategy of running your business and helping your business run more. Generally speaking, my favorite clients are the ones that understand and are passionate about their business and passionate about technology. If a company just says, "Hey, I want someone to come in and just put antivirus on my machine and then just leave me alone," right? They're probably not a super good fit for us because again, our company thrives on the passion of helping other companies do better. And if that excitement isn't there, It just loses something. I mean, it's still okay. It's still money, but then it's like, well, it's just money, right? And there's more to life than just money.
Speaking of passion, back to Crash Elliot. So you're playing 300 shows a year, and then you start opening for big bands like Warrant and Riot and Aerosmith. What was it like opening for big bands?
It was interesting because like a lot of these bands that we know are big now weren't super big back then, right? So it was more like you were opening for an up and coming band, but you
Mm,
didn't realize that like a Pantera is what Pantera is now, right?
mm,
So it was, I mean, you knew they were a good band. We knew that they were playing a show, like a one night show instead of 7 nights. So they were obviously a little higher on the food chain than we were, right? But yeah, I mean, it was just a good experience. It's exciting, but I think if I would have known then what I know now about those bands, I would have been a lot more like really excited at the time. So
and then at a certain point, you did a major label showcase with Atlantic Records. What was that like?
well, basically, I had left the band shortly before that showcase happened. So, yeah, so there was just some on the business side of things, I was a little more business focused. A lot so you got two sides of this. You have a lot of passion, right? And then passion can blind business decisions. And
Mm,
then you can have business ideas that maybe can overrun the passion, right? So there's kind of a middle ground in there.
oh,
Um,
interesting. Wow,
yeah.
yeah.
So basically, at that moment, my business sense, and it's not really business sense, but my perception of what was happening was I need to step away at that
Mm,
time. So that was kinda how that went down, but the band did go on to do a showcase, and I believe they were even signed for a short period of time, but it was a very tight window, and I believe that's right when the grunge music and stuff was starting to hit heavy, and then the band lost its label at that point
mm.
because it wasn't like a Nirvana or a, you know, Soundgarden or one of those types of sounds. That was kind of the new thing that was coming in. So, victim of bad timing on that one.
So briefly, like, what was about how many people were you playing for thousands of people sometimes?
Oh, probably the larger shows that I was involved in were hundreds. I don't know that we were ever over 1,000, but
So how do you I mean, stage fright is such a common experience for people. Did stage fright come up for you?
no, I really never had stage fright. It's kinda like right now when I go out and do presentations, I do presentations on artificial intelligence and critical thinking. If you know the topic well enough or, going back to the music, if you know the music well enough and you're really confident about what you're doing, you can take some people will still get stage fright, but most times I didn't. I was just more excited about getting out and showing what I could do, right? And showing what the band can do. So, an interesting thing, we were playing in Boise, Idaho one spring when the trees were all blooming and they had just tons of blossoms and I have allergies and my nose was just running down my face, right?
Mm,
And when we'd go on stage to play, I would by before we'd start playing, my nose would stop running and I would play the whole set. I wouldn't have to wipe my nose once. I'd stop playing, get off stage, and within a minute, my nose would just start running again. So it was like the adrenaline of going up to play was enough to make my immune system to stop my nose from running. And
Oh,
I always thought that was just it was interesting to me, like, it was just like clockwork, right? So,
do you play now? Have you played in the last 30 years?
yeah, I mean, I still have a set in the basement, electronic set, so I don't drive my family crazy. So I'll still play. And then last year, we ended up Crash Alley ended up getting into the South Dakota Rock and Rollers Hall of Fame. So the band got together and we hadn't played together as a group for over 30 years.
Wow.
We spent a week together. It was kind of like riding a bicycle. We all kind of got back on and played the show together, played like a 25-minute show, and it was really fun. And there's actually talk now of a Pomp Room reunion maybe happening. So the goal there would be for a bunch of old bands that played the Pomp Room to get together and play again. So I think the band is kind of tossing around the idea of getting back together again for that. So we'll see if it happens or not. But
How would you describe the pump room for someone who's not from Sioux Falls?
ooh, well, first of all, there's a Pomp Room movie. You can go out. I think you can watch it on YouTube, and there's DVDs you can buy. But basically, it was the grungiest, dirtiest, funnest club you could play. And there'd be times that we would play in there and you would walk off the stage and the floor would just like it was just like wet with beer, like just
Oh,
slop when you walk through. Every single inch of every table and the bars sometimes would be covered with empties. And but everybody was dancing and there'd be fights once in a while too, but like dancing and having a good time, and a lot of times it was like overcapacity and the police would come in and say, "Hey, you gotta pull some people out of here because there's too many in here." But it was just a really exciting, fun place to play. So and that is actually where I met my wife. Yeah, at the Pomp Room when we were playing on stage. So,
did she come up to you afterwards?
yeah, I think, we kinda locked eyes when we were playing, and then I walked over to the table. We started to have a conversation, you know, so between her and her friends that were in college, so then all of us started talking, and then Sharon and I hit it off, and the rest is history there too.
And now you have 2 kids, right?
Yep, yep. 2
Oh,
kids and yep. Been married, we got married in '95, but we were going together since like 90, 92, 93. So, yep, so
well, con congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
There's so many dimensions of your life, and we're running out of time. Will you really briefly talk about what street epistemology epi
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
epistemology.
Epistemology.
It's the study of knowledge. So, I'm part of a nonprofit that I'm secretary on the board of an international nonprofit out of San Antonio, Texas, called Street Epistemology International. And, we our goal is a more passionate world through civil conversations.
Hmm.
So we're teaching people how to talk about the things we would normally fight about in a way that lends us to not fight about it. So to kind of put it into a nutshell, when somebody makes a claim that something is true, we'll do what we call steel manning, and so I'll repeat back to you what you've said in the most positive way possible, because I want you, Jason, to say, "Yeah, Kevin, you understand me, right? You understand what I'm saying." Then we'll talk a little bit about why you believe that. This comes from a place of deep curiosity because I really want to understand why you believe what you believe. Then I may ask, well, Jason, on a scale of 0 to 100, how confident are you that that's true? And you may, say, I'm 95% sure. I'm 100% sure that this is true. Well, then we move on to more the epistemology side is like how we know what we know. And we spend a lot of time there, not talking about what you believe, but talking about the method you used to find truth. So our confidence in a belief should directly match the quality of our reasons for holding it. So we're basically examining those reasons. And during our conversation, you may say things that make me question what I believe, right? Because you've given really good reasons for what you believe. Or you may stop and go, man, I've never thought of that before, right? And if I can work with you and you have that state of aporia where you're just like, man, I've never thought of that. I usually want
State of what?
aporia. And that's just like aporia is just I've never thought of that before. I've just like this is something new. You've blown my mind. I've never thought of this.
Hmm.
I will usually say, Jason, it's been great talking to you. Can we pick up this conversation next week? Right. And then I want you to sit and think about that, right? And come to terms yourself with your reasons for believing not matching your confidence. And usually people will look at that because nobody's telling them to not believe it, but they'll stop and start to think, maybe I shouldn't believe in it as strongly as I do. And they'll tend to lower their confidence some, right? And for me, the goal is I want to believe as many true things as possible. And I want to give people the ability to build up rapport with each other, tear down some rapport, but in a way that we're not fighting each other and that can lead us both to better understanding of each other and maybe a closer model of reality and the truth that we live in together. So
The-
that's the and I'll give a plug here too. We have a website called navigatingbeliefs.com. And if people go to navigatingbeliefs.com, we have free training out there to help people learn about this methodology and how you can use it in your life, in your personal life. And we're trying to bring this concept into businesses as well to help them come up with better decisions for the path that a business should take moving forward or any issues that they're having.
so navigatingbeliefs.com.
Yep. Yep. That's where all the training is. If you were to look up Anthony Magnabosco, he's our executive director. He has a ton of videos out there when he was going through and developing the concept of street epistemology. There was a professor that actually kind of came up with the original idea, and Anthony popularized it and really tweaked the method and tested it out to what it is today. So,
It sounds very powerful. Just a quick story about what you're talking about a little bit, and then a final question. Okay.
okay.
So for most of my life, I just held it true that having a speech impediment and having coordination differences was burdensome, was a detriment, and then one day I was talking to my friend, and she turned to me and said, "Jason, your voice is a gift," and I like it completely transformed the way I thought and acted, and the way I move forward to this day, and if she hadn't challenged my perception of what was true about myself in that moment, I would be on a completely different path.
Yeah. So she was your band instructor. Like, I mean,
She
a
was
parallel.
my band instructor, she
Yeah.
was my street epistemologist, she was both.
Yeah.
So all that is to say thank you for being. Did you say you're the president?
No, secretary on the board.
Thank you for being the secretary of this
Yeah. Well, yeah.
organization doing such important work.
Yeah. Thank you. We're hoping you know, we're hoping to change the world, one person at a time, right? But
Mm, mm,
it's getting people to, I think right now, the challenge is getting people into spaces where people think differently than they are, right? So I will go directly into spaces where I know that there are people who think totally different than I do. And I do it on purpose.
wow.
So I'll put myself in these situations to have these conversations. For one, I'm really curious. I want to know
Mm,
why they think what they think, right? And how they got there. And I want to understand, and I do want to ask those questions to get them to stop and think and to kind of challenge themselves too. It's really kind of a metacognition, thinking about thinking. And I want to get people to just do that more and find out that the person sitting across from you, even though they may be different than you, they're a human being. And we need to have the respect from them. We need to give them the respect that we expect them to give us. And if we don't go into these spaces and intentionally seek out these conversations, it's probably not going to happen. So I guess I encourage people to learn about street epistemology, go to navigatingbeliefs.com, and then start practicing that mindset, that curiosity,
mm,
that that way to move forward and put yourself out there and really learn from each other because we are so much more alike
mm.
than we are different.
Powerful. Wish we had another hour, but 2 or 10. But last question, and I ask everyone this. Kevin, what does doing your imperfect best mean to you?
Oh, it really means again, it's like putting yourself out there, right? Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't hold back because you think that you can't do something or that somebody else tells you you can't do something, right? The whole negative side of things that, when I hear people say it can't be done, it is a pet peeve of mine, right? I don't tell me why something can't be done. I want you to tell me, here's how it can be done. And we could try this, and we could try this. And if we're just negative and we're limiting our ability to move forward and to be creative and we're killing our own passion.
Hmm.
So we just need to be open and accepting and put ourselves out there and just do our best. Our imperfect best.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to wrap this up, but please stay on the line and just take a minute for things to upload, okay?
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
And, and everyone, thank you for tuning in and in considering this conversation and these stories. Isn't Kevin brilliant with all his different passions and how he's navigated through life?
Yeah.
Find that so cool. And please tune in next week for another guest. Or if you're watching this 1,000 years from now, you might have to watch reruns because I won't be doing this in 1,000 years.
Well, how do you know? Maybe AI is going to make us all live forever.
Well, you heard it here first. Maybe I will be doing this in 1,000 years. So, and
Don't
that,
limit don't limit yourself.
yeah. Thanks, Kevin. Anyway, in the meantime, remember, thanks for listening and remember to smile.